What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is a series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving into the brand new pistol they added. This is the 9mm Daemon. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile. And with this gun, we have a unique set of body multipliers. We will deal the least amount of damage to the legs. Then we have a damage multiplier that includes the lower torso as well as the arms. And then we also have a separate upper torso damage multiplier. Generally speaking though, as long as we're not hitting legs, this is going to take us 3 to 4 shots to kill in the majority of gunfights you'll find yourself in. However, we do have a great headshot damage profile. Up close and personal, we can get a 2-shot kill to the head if both bullets hit them in the head. As for our rate of fire cap, this is 462 rounds per minute by default if we're not using a trigger attachment. And what this means is our 3-shot time to kill potential is 260 milliseconds, which isn't a very competitive time to kill up close. Now, that's not to say that you won't be able to utilize the significantly better handling of a pistol to still come out on top in gunfights with that slower time to kill, but just know it doesn't really excel here unless we're hitting those 2 headshots up close, in which case we can get a 130 millisecond time to kill, which is very, very quick. Also, of course, don't write this gun off completely. We still have to look at the trigger attachments that will improve our time to kill. We'll get to that as soon as we finish the base stats. And speaking of base stats, let's have a look at our bullet velocity, which is pretty standard for a pistol. It's not bad actually, at 375 meters per second. And most importantly, for some reason, the 9mm Daemon has access to high velocity ammunition as one of the ammunition attachments. And that allows us to bump our bullet velocity up to 488 meters per second, which is very good for a handgun. After that though, let's have a look at our damage ranges, and as we can see here, our maximum damage range, where it's a 3-shot kill anywhere aside from the legs, this will extend out to about 9 meters, so roughly the same as a lot of the SMG's maximum damage range. Then our 3-shot kill potential, assuming we're hitting upper torso shots, this will extend out to about 21 meters, and then beyond that, it's generally just going to be a 4 to maybe even 5-shot kill if you really stretch out that range and you mix in some lower torso or limb shots. Now, let's get into our hipfire spread, and this is technically just slightly better than the P890, but I just sort of bundled it together since it's close enough to being the same as a P890, and this is quite a good thing. This has an incredible hipfire spread on it, and especially right up close and personal, it's quite effective at hip firing. Now, if you do aim down sight though, this gun is incredibly accurate. As you can see here, there is very little recoil even when spamming at the maximum fire rate. It does have a small amount of climb over time as you continue spamming, but that's not an issue at all. This gun is very accurate and very easy to control. After that, let's get into our handling stats, and unfortunately our aim down sight time is a little bit slower than most of the other pistols at 200 milliseconds. This is still very fast if you compare it to like most of the SMGs out there. It just doesn't really stand out in the pistol category. However, our sprint to fire time is pretty standard for pistols and great at 80 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 160 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. As for our reload add time, this is 1.5 seconds, which is kind of right around average for pistols. It's not bad, but it's also not great for a pistol. And then finally, for the base stats of this gun, let's have a look at our mobility, and our base movement speed is quite noticeably the fastest in the pistol category at 5.16 meters per second. That is very fast. Then when it comes to our sprint speed, it's got an incredible sprint speed. In fact, there's only one gun in the game that sprints faster than this, and that is the Fennec. This is 6.51 meters per second. And then finally, our aim walking movement speed is just a little bit above average for pistols, but nothing too out of the ordinary there. And with that, that about wraps it up for the base stats of the 9mm Daemon. Now let's get into the unique attachments, and I wanted to start this off with the triggers because they are very important to your time to kill with this gun, assuming you have a good trigger finger at least. With this, the precision trigger will reduce our fire rate down to 400 rounds per minute, therefore increasing our time to kill, so generally speaking you want to stay away from that one. Whereas the Dex 8 trigger will slightly improve our rate of fire up to 500 rounds per minute, which also slightly improves our time to kill. And then the best trigger out of all of them is the Rapid 30 trigger, which bumps our rate of fire cap up to 545 rounds per minute. And if you're capable of achieving that fire rate, our new 3-shot time to kill is now 220 milliseconds, which is much more within the realm of being competitive with other guns up close. So if you have a good trigger finger, I'd highly recommend using that Rapid 30 trigger. Next, let's have a look at our barrel attachments, and we'll start this off with how they impact our ranges. And as we can see here, only 3 of the barrels have an impact on our damage range. The competition barrel as well as the long fire barrel both give us nice boosts to our damage ranges, whereas the windfall barrel will give us a slight reduction to our damage ranges at 10%. Then when it comes to how these barrels impact recoil, again, only 3 of them have an impact on our recoil, and none of them really have a significant impact on our recoil, although the FT competition does give us the best possible recoil spread here. And then let's have a look at how they impact our aim down sight speed. And as we can see here, unfortunately, the FT competition just destroys our aim down sight time. That is way too slow for a pistol. Whereas for all of the other ones, it at least keeps your aim down sight speed somewhere in the realm of being viable. Next, I did want to take a look at our magazine attachments and how they affect our aim down sight speed. And as you can see here, the 20 round mag will bump it up by 11 milliseconds, and the 26 round mag will bump it up by 22 milliseconds. So really not bad in either of these cases. I typically go for the nice middle ground here. I really like that 20 round mag on this. And now that we have all of that out of the way, we can finally move into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys. And the first one I wanted to share is my standard all-around setup that I really enjoy using with the 9mm Daemon. This is actually one of my new go-to pistols that I'll use as a secondary, but you can use it just fine as a primary if you've got a solid trigger finger. And with this, we have the Forged DX90F muzzle, which is a suppressor, so we're staying off the radar, especially with that UAV bug still being present on most maps. We've got that rapid 30 trigger for the faster rate of fire and therefore better time to kill. We've got that high velocity ammunition, so we have an excellent bullet velocity with this. We've got a 20 round mag, and then finally I top this off with the FJX Diode 70 laser. So with this build, we get a noticeably better time to kill. Our aim down sight speed is a little bit faster than the base, but not by much, and our sprint out time is effectively the same as the base, although technically a few milliseconds slower. And when we have a look at our recoil, while we technically have a little bit more recoil than the standard version of this gun, it's still a very, very accurate gun, still super easy to hit targets, even at long ranges. And this is just a good, solid, all-around setup to be using. If you find yourself right up close and personal, try to mix headshots in whenever possible, so you get that really, really fast time to kill up close. As for the second build I wanted to share for you guys, this is an Akimbo build. And I know many people have been having issues unlocking Akimbo. It seems to be fairly inconsistent though. For some people it works, for some people it doesn't. I must be one of the lucky ones because Akimbo is working just fine for me. And with this particular build, we've got the 1mW pistol laser, which gives us the tightest possible hip spread, but we do have a visible laser from the hip. We've got the FT Steelfire muzzle, which is a suppressor that increases our damage range. And since we don't have to worry about it harming our aim down sight speed, since we're firing Akimbo, that's a great choice on this setup. We once again have that rapid 30 trigger for the fastest fire rate possible. And with this, I've got the overpressured plus P ammunition just to cause a little bit of extra flinch for enemy players. And also I have this tuned for damage range, which helps a bit. And the reason I'm not using high velocity on this is with an Akimbo setup, you're typically just fighting people right up close and personal. So high velocity doesn't really matter here. And a big thing to point out is when you're using this gun in Akimbo, that effectively cuts our time to kill in half. So we can actually kill in 110 milliseconds now, which is insanely fast. But even if it does take you an extra shot or two to kill, it's now going to kill in 220 milliseconds, just like the base time to kill of this gun with the rapid 30 trigger. As for our hipfire spread on this build, this is what our hipfire spread looks like when we just have Akimbo on. And now this is what it looks like when we have all of these other attachments and tuning. And as you can see, that is a very tight hipfire spread. And that's one of the reasons this gun actually excels quite a bit in Akimbo. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the brand new 9mm Daemon. As for my thoughts on this gun, I really like it. I think it's just a good, consistent, super accurate option that has a lot of versatility to it. You can stretch out ranges really, really effectively due to the bullet velocity and accuracy. And also, if you got a good trigger finger, you can get a reasonable time to kill. Although, I will be the first to admit, it's not the most powerful pistol out there. Unless you're hitting those headshots, you're really not going to be excelling in the time to kill department. So I more so just like it for its versatility and its consistency overall. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts on the 9mm Daemon, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this pistol in those comments down below. Now, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. I realize I did skip over the M13C. That will be the next gun guide that I should have up within the next, 3 or 4 days or so. If you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.